For a long time, the story of technology and jobs in New Zealand felt pretty simple. We kind of knew which jobs were at risk, but what if that entire story just got flipped on its head?
For decades, we've had this really clear picture of what automation looks like. It was robots on assembly lines, machines out on the farm. It was a story about physical labor.
The pattern was so predictable, right? Machines took on the repetitive physical jobs, while the complex thinking work of the office, well, that stayed firmly in human hands.
Well, that story is over. Done. With this latest wave of generative AI, the entire script has been flipped. The story we all thought we knew is finished, and a new, much more complicated one is starting right now, right here, in New Zealand.
And this is what we're calling the Great Reversal. It's a technology wave that's not aimed at our hands, it's aimed directly at our heads, at the cognitive skills that have pretty much defined professional work for a century.
So, what's the data actually telling us about where this new wave is going to hit hardest in our economy? Let's follow the numbers.
Okay, have a look at this. This slide lays out the new front line. See that column on the right? LM exposure. That's large language models, the AI behind things like ChatGPT. Now look at our traditional backbone industries, like agriculture and manufacturing. Their exposure is low. But then look at that highlighted row right at the top, the services sector. The exposure level, very high.
And this number is, well, it's kind of staggering. 67%. That's 2/3 of New Zealand's entire economic output. It all comes from that same highly exposed services sector. This isn't some niche part of our economy. It is our economy.
And this is the human face of that number. 1.5 million Kiwis. That's how many people are employed in the very sector that language-based AI is set to completely transform. We're talking about real jobs, real people, real communities.
So here's the crucial point. In the past, if a factory worker lost their job, they might retrain and get a job in a call center. But that safety net is gone. When the call center itself is being automated, where do those workers go? The services sector can't just absorb its own displaced workers this time. There's no simple sideways move anymore.
So let's get specific. Where is the shift already happening? We're going to look at some of the obvious targets and then some very surprising ones.
Our contact centers are the first real-world test case. They're literally the canary in the coal mine. We're already seeing a 3 to 5 year cycle of displacement starting, and it's affecting a workforce that skews young, female, and Pacifica, groups that often have less economic cushion to fall back on.
And this is where that reversal really hits home. According to Goldman Sachs, professional services, we're talking law, accounting, consulting, are facing up to 46% task displacement. These were the jobs we were all told were safe.
The economic logic here is just undeniable. I mean, when an AI tool can review a contract for cents on the dollar compared to a junior lawyer billing hundreds, the business case is clear. This isn't just about jobs, it's about compressing the entire career pipeline for young professionals.
But while all of this is happening in our cities and our offices, it is a completely different story for New Zealand's traditional economic backbone out in the regions.
And the reason is simple, really. Large language models, the tech that's disrupting the services sector, are built for language and cognition. They don't operate in the physical world.
But that does not mean technology isn't having a huge impact. It's just a different kind of AI, a different kind of automation. We're talking robotics and data platforms.
So here, automation is an efficiency tool. Robotic milking systems are already on hundreds of farms. Fonterra is using these huge precision data platforms. And critically, AI is helping farmers meet complex environmental compliance rules, like He Waka Eke Noa. It's all about productivity, not mass displacement.
And it's a similar story in manufacturing. The challenge is less about the whole sector disappearing and more about the really severe risk to our regional communities. A meatworks in Denevere or Gore that employs 600 people, well, that's the economic anchor of the town. If automation cuts even 20% of that workforce, it leaves a hole that's almost impossible to fill locally. So we've got these two very different stories playing out in our economy. But now we get to the really complex paradoxes, when New Zealand is both building the tools of disruption and feeling their effects in a really profound way. Take our world-class creative sector, anchored by companies like Weta. Generative AI can now do tasks that once required whole teams of junior and mid-tier artists. This isn't just a jobs crisis, it's a pipeline crisis. It threatens the next generation of talent that makes our creative industry so incredibly special.
And all of this reveals a really unique cultural challenge for us.
Global AIs have scraped and learned from Maori art and cultural expression without any consent. But here in New Zealand, we're seeing a different path. Tahiku Media's Maori voice model was built with community consent, and it's under community ownership. It's just a really powerful alternative.
So when you start to connect all of these different threads, the services sector, our regions, our creative industries, our cultural identity, what does it all mean for New Zealand's future? The stakes are just incredibly high. We're talking about the very nature of professional careers, we're talking about the economic viability of our regional towns, an accelerated brain drain of our best tech talent, and a tourism sector that's now facing its second massive shock in just 5 years.
And all of this leaves us with a fundamental question, one that really goes beyond economics and touches the very core of our society. In a world where our uniquely human cognitive skills can be automated, what does it truly mean to work?